Part 7.
Today we're tackling all our fans, cables, and front panel connectors. Let's get started. Now obviously, any PC that you build will need some sort of cooling device for regulating the temperature of all your components. Without it, your parts will overheat, which can easily damage the entire system. So you have a choice between regular fans or liquid cooling. For most builds, unless you are going super high-end, using fans will be perfectly fine. When you are installing your fans, you want to try and keep a neutral pressure in your PC. This means having the same amount of intake fans, which suck in the air, as outtake fans, which exhaust the air. Okay, so let's get started with connecting all of our fans. Now, I have around 4 fans installed in my case at the moment. These were already pre-installed with the case. However, if your case is not like this, all you have to do is screw in your fans to the interior walls of your case, wherever you need them for optimal airflow. The fan cables all look something like this. 4 little holes that go into 4 little pins. One way you could go about doing this is just plugging them in directly into your motherboard. Usually you'll see a label like SYS fan or power fan or something along those lines, and that is where you could plug in these cables. It doesn't matter which one you use. If your motherboard has multiple, they'll all work just fine. But be careful when you're plugging them in because the pins are very delicate and can bend and break very easily. However, if you're like me and you don't have enough connectors on your motherboard for all of your fans, you're going to need to get a fan hub so you have more ports to connect to. You can see that I have one already sitting right there with my hard drive. So all you have to do is plug in all your fan cables into this hub. In my case, I need 2 fans that cool the storage devices as well as another side fan. But you do also need to power this hub in order for it to work. That's why in the previous video, I installed a 4-pin Mullux cable to my power supply. On the hub, you'll notice the bottom port is a little bit different. This is where the power will be coming from. To convert the 4-pin from the power supply into this port, I used a cable with a 4-pin on one end and that little 2-pin on the other end of the power. Then I simply plugged the little end into the hub to give it power and in turn, give power to the rest of our fans. And now all our fans have power and are ready to go. Let's now move on to the rest of our cables. To get started, on your motherboard, you'll notice that at the front, there are all of these little sockets and ports for plugging in cables. These are called the front panel connectors. Now, a few videos ago when we looked at the case, I talked about all these little cables that come pre-attached to the case. These are the front panel cables, which need to plug into the motherboard. The thing with this is that every motherboard and every case are different. So you might not have all the cables that I do, or you even might have more cables than I do. But there are a few general ones that appear on almost every single case. There's the speaker cable, the power LED, the power switch cable, the reset switch, and the hard drive LED. Most of these are pretty self-explanatory. They're just mostly LED indicators or beeping noises or for powering on the PC. These cables will usually go in the port that is color-coded on your motherboard. And if you look just below this port, you'll usually see a little diagram. This not only indicates where each cable goes, but also the orientation, because it matters. It has to go in the right way. There's a positive side and a negative side. This is indicated on the diagram, but also on the cable itself, you'll see it has some sort of indicator like an arrow, which denotes the positive side. I'm going to start with the power LED, which if you look at the little diagram, goes in the bottom right on the port with the positive on the left side, just like so. Next, I'll do the speaker connector, which goes just above that, again with positive on the left. Now the power switch cable, which goes on the left side at the top, again positive on the left. Then we have the reset switch, which goes just below the power switch. However, this time it's positive on the right. And finally, I have the hard drive LED, which goes directly to the left of the reset switch, with positive on the right. That is all the cables we have. Again, your case could have more or less cables, but all you have to do is follow that little diagram on the motherboard. Okay, we've gotten all the difficult cables out of the way. Now let's move on to the easier ones. So you're also going to have probably a few extra cables for things like your audio, USBs, and other, which need to be plugged in as well. So just look at your motherboard and you'll see labels corresponding to the labels on each wire. The audio goes with the audio label, 1349 goes into its port on the motherboard, and the USB goes into the USB port. Simple as that. Again, they only go in one way. Newer cases will probably also have like a USB 3 port or maybe even a USB-C port, but all you have to do again is just look at your motherboard, look for the labels, and see where they go. And that is all of our front panel cables and fans finished. We are so close to finishing the build. You guys are doing an amazing job. Keep up the good work, and I'll see you in the next one.